We acknowledge the original owners of the land on which we podcast, whose stories were told for thousands of years. Today, we are recording in Meanjin. We pay our respects to elders past and present who may be listening. Sovereignty was never ceded. A quick note before we get started that there may be some swearing in today's podcast. If you don't like swearing or usually listen with children in the car, you have been warned. This episode of What in the NDIS Now is brought to you by Astalty. Astalty is the software solution for NDIS professionals built by NDIS professionals. Astalty is my go-to software, and Astalty is trusted and loved by hundreds of other NDIS providers. I love how easy it is to use and how it keeps all my participant information, notes, and invoicing all in one place, available to me anytime from any device. Sign up now for your 14-day free trial. Head to astalty.com.au to sign up now. See for yourself how much easier managing all your NDIS business needs are by using Astalty. Thanks again to Astalty for sponsoring today's episode. You're listening to What in the NDIS Now, a podcast where I, Hannah Redford, and my friend Sam Rosenbaum interview participants and providers about all things NDIS. Welcome, everyone, to the podcast episode. How are you going, Sam?
Yeah, Hannah, really well. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm exhausted, actually. I've been really tired.
Actually, look, as you say that, I felt, and I was saying really well, I'm going that kind of a little bit of a lie, because yes, I feel 100% like that.
And I tried going on our fabulous bus system in Brisbane yesterday, and it sucked, and it sucks. And I have a few suggestions for the people who run our bus system, just one or two, or 500. So yeah, yesterday I was a little more upset and discombobulated than I am today.
Oh, discombobulated. That can be the word of the day, everyone. Love it. Well, Hannah, who have we got on today?
We have Sabrina. Welcome to the podcast, Sabrina.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Sam. Thanks for having me here.
No worries. I love having you here.
Yeah, we're so excited to talk to you about your app. But first, we always start the show with, where did you grow up?
So I actually grew up in Hong Kong my entire life. Really never left that place. And I just moved to Australia, I think 6 years ago. So pretty new, but not really.
Yep. And you chose Brisbane. Is Brisbane the only place you've been in Australia, or lived, rather?
So I actually moved to Melbourne, and I'm based in Melbourne right now.
Yeah.
But
yes. Sorry. I knew that.
I'm in the same place, but different time zone, guys.
No, that's awesome, Sabrina. And look, it won't be long until Hannah will be right and you will be up in Brisbane, because we're both from Melbourne, and we both moved up a while ago, and we're both very much never looking back.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Because I kept saying that I feel like I will move to Brisbane, like in the last, and I also went to Brisbane 2 weeks ago, and that's where I met a lot of my Brisbane connections, and somehow got to Hannah, to you as well, on LinkedIn. But yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. It's a small little world, and it's great to get connected, and Brisbane would be lucky to have you up here.
Love it.
So how did you get into the disability sector, or adjacent?
So when I moved to Melbourne, and I think it was the second year of my university degree, it was during COVID, and then everything switched to online. So I was like, I really need a job because I just can't stay at home, and no one could get out. So I'm like, what's a job I can get out of my home, and also something I have the skills, because my resume really did not have much things on there. So I just looked online and found this disability support job, and I applied for it. Got rejected in the beginning, but somehow she got me back in again, and did the second interview, and I got the job as a support worker. She's self-managed, and she hired me directly. And then I worked for her for 3 years. COVID was a tough time. There was a period of time where I had to work 2 shifts a day, 7 days a week for almost 3 months because we couldn't find anyone to be the second support worker. And it was a lot of 4 a.m.s waking up. And then she also had more of higher support needs. So a lot of times I get called in the middle of the day, in the middle of class, in the middle of the night. Yeah, it was difficult, but that also meant I formed a really good relationship with her, and yeah, led to all the things afterwards.
Amazing. So tell us about your app. So do you want to start with its name and how you thought of it and what it kind of does, all of those things? Cool. We want to know everything.
For sure. So I run a platform, and the name is enaccess maps. So enaccess maps. Basically, I started enaccess maps when I was kind of 3rd year into my support working job. And the person that I cared for, she is obsessed with fish and chips. And she also used a power wheelchair. So the places she could go to was really limited, and she would spend an entire day to plan for an event with, say, like if she had to go out with her mom the next day and she wanted to go to a new place, she would spend the day before to physically go check so that she knows that she can feel safe when she actually goes. So at the time, I was like, I love food and I don't think about these things. These, like, whether there's a step, whether there's a accessible toilet, these things don't come to my mind, and I just go in without thinking. And I just felt like this is unfair, and why, if this is happening to her, it means it's happening to a lot of people. So I kind of made her a promise that I'll help her find the best fish and chip shop she can go to in Melbourne that's accessible. That's really how it started. And then I was also at uni at the time. So I told one of the student clubs that I want to start this. I don't really know how to do it. Can you help me? And they were kind enough to kind of give me a volunteer team of students to really start building this. It was just a Google form attached to Google Maps, and I just posted everywhere on Facebook, got some traction, and I'm like, this seems to go well, and it seems like a real big problem. Then it kind of went from there.
Yeah. So what is it, mainly hospitality places that you're looking for?
Yeah. So I feel like I might have missed exactly what the app does, but essentially we're a website that connects people with disabilities to venues that match their access needs. We started off with restaurants and cafes, but slowly we are also expanding to tourist destinations because we just want people to have a good time and have fun. And there's so many experiences they can do. So starting with cafes and restaurants, but slowly more and more things are added to the platform.
Yeah, awesome. And so one of the things I loved, like we love this, and we loved the idea that you're getting providers to sign up, to get support workers to fill in the form to say, oh, I went out with someone today and this wasn't accessible, or this was accessible. And that helps build out the maps no matter where you are in Australia, because anyone across Australia can sign up to join a team and get this happening.
Yeah, so that's a program that we launched called Map for Change. Essentially, we partner with providers to encourage their support workers to go out and write reviews on the job. And we made sure, I gathered some feedback from a few providers, and the first thing that they say, we're on board as long as you make it extremely easy for us. So that's exactly what we did. So the review form is pretty straightforward. It really takes less than 30 seconds for a support worker to review a place. It's a downloadable web app, so it could be a website, or you can just put it on your phone and just click it open and have it ready on the go. And Also, we also provide onboarding sheets for the providers to just send it off to support workers. We have scripts if they want to do an in-person thing to encourage support workers. And we also have little awards that we're giving out in May for providers and also the support workers themselves for like the best quality or like the longest review, the best reviews, the most reviews. Something's just fun. And I think one thing coming from me being a support worker in the past, I think it's just so meaningful to me at the time if I got to kind of do one thing, but also spread the impact and connect to a higher meaning, I guess, as part of the job.
Yeah, I love that so much because I think that so often it gets forgotten about. And there's things like some places might say they're accessible or they've got an accessible toilet, but then because they forget, they put boxes in front of the accessibility toilet, or it's up a tiny step, and you're like, no, that doesn't work. So I love the idea that anyone can, pop in feedback. It's such a great idea. And then having providers in particular also sign up and say, here we are. One of the things I loved when I signed up to it was the social media post that you've made that then a provider's logo just slots in and they can say, hey, we've gotten on this app or all over their social media. And I think it's such a great way to spread the word and spread the love, and everyone gets something out of that social media post.
Yeah, at the end of the day, when I started Map for a Change and why I started it was because I feel like it's something that could benefit everyone. For the support workers, they might, find a nice place and they can do some different things with the people that they're caring for. And for the providers, it's just a good initiative to put out a lot of impact, but with really not that much effort. And then having that social media post and showcasing that this is something that we're proud to be doing and we want to give back to the community and show that they're impact focused. And for me, we get the data and then we have a wider audience that's national, and people traveling to Brisbane can also use that information. So it's really just a win-win for everyone.
Or traveling to Melbourne.
Traveling to Brisbane, everyone can travel to Brisbane and find the places that they've never been to before.
It's really good, Sabrina. I love the story of how you first started out in the sector supporting someone with that need and getting that real exposure. Getting to see a bit into their life and the struggles, as you were talking about that planning and how much that person went into going, well, I want to go get fish and chips. And as you're saying, it's really simple for vast majority of us. But for those with those physical disabilities, it's really hard. When you're also talking about how you went through uni and you were starting to build it with the club, I can hear a lot of data points and a lot of research. And this is something that we don't see a lot in the sector, is planning and building out and slowly creeping and getting incremental data points, looking at real in-depth point and asking those questions, what is going to work and what's the next step. I'm also pretty sure, based on that we had a Google form on Maps as the starting point, that we've come a long way since day one. Do you want to just walk us through kind of some of the insights that you saw from the very beginning, capturing going, how do we get this working? Looking at then what they gave you, as well as the feedback and how we improved to get to where you are today. It's a fascinating little area.
Yeah, so it's been a pretty long journey from having the idea till now. I think in the beginning, we started with just really asking the questions about what do you need instead of just building out something that we assumed people want. So we actually started with just posting surveys on Facebook groups. I think in the NDIS sector or disability sector, Facebook groups is really such a key connecting thing. And the survey that we mainly asked how difficult did they find finding accessible venue is. and also what makes it difficult and what are the key things that they look for when they call a place accessible. And we actually ended up having 100 people fill out that survey, mainly based in Victoria, but a bit nationally. And then we found that 82% of people find it difficult to find accessible places, and 91% of people, basically 91 people, said that they found the information that they find online or through calling is often inaccurate. So that is such a huge thing that we have to solve. It's not only not knowing, but also a lack of accuracy in the information that's out there. I think we all go to Google Maps and we see the little tags like step free with a tick, but it doesn't really mean anything because you might be step free, but what if the footpath outside is extremely narrow or there's actually a step in the restaurant? It just can't capture the nuance of what access is. So that's the first thing that we found that we had to solve. And the second was just there's a lack of data, first of all. And second, there's a lack of credibility in the data that's out there. So throughout building the platform, one thing that we did is that we want venues to get involved as well so that we can scale a platform. So we made a tailored form that's specifically for venues that kind of ensures the accuracy of the data they put in while having the users also monitor it through user reviews. So it's kind of like attacking the quality, just in keeping that quality through multiple ways. So
I really love that. That's great.
Thank you. And then other things, I guess it's just really, really minor things, even just the accessibility of the platform itself. What is intuitive, what is not. We had to really fine-tune little words that just thinking about the user journey through navigating the platform on how do we get them to get to where they need to be in the fastest way or like in the most intuitive way possible. And it took us a long time because I'm looking at this platform 8 hours a day, every day. And to me, it's like, oh, that's so intuitive. But when I show it to a new person that has never seen the app before, they're like, how do I even leave a review? I'm like, oh, that's, I can't believe. So I really had to set up a user advisory board that has 5 members of people living with disability, and they all use mobility aids and has access needs. So I really had to have quite a lot of sessions with them to understand the needs and also do separate interviews. So co-designing is key.
Look, everyone at home, we're doing this on a Zoom call for at the moment, and Hannah and I are having little fits of giggling, clapping our hands and very excited with all of this because this is encapsulating what the principle of co-design really is and building out. I'm really impressed, and I think everyone, all the providers out at home listening, need to take a little bit of a step and go, how do we look at the data points? What data points do we want? How do we want to start making our service intuitive for our people? And it can be done as well. We just need to, it's showing all of this and the success that we obviously can see that's happening with this. It goes a long way to create the product that the people that we're serving actually need, rather than us going, oh, it's really simple to leave a review. I can see that right here. But just because you and I can see that and it's logical for us doesn't mean it's intuitive or logical for other people as well. So, yeah, I absolutely 100% commend that. And I can see Hannah's face smiling away as well. And I know she wants to say something.
Yeah, look, and a user advisory board or group or whatever people want to call them is fantastic and is exactly what people should be doing. And I love this so much. And TransLink could learn something from this because trying to use their app yesterday
you're going to drop in Queensland buses as much as you can throughout this episode, aren't you, Hannah?
It
Sabrina,
was not accessible.
Sabrina, I'd really like to touch on about the advisory board there. First, starting off with like from when you identified that need with that sort of point, how you went into engaging with people, building out the concept as well, because I'm sure when you went to people, they weren't too sure what that was either, because as much as the industry and sector goes, let's do co-design, it has unfortunately become a very kind of like boardroom bingo table corporate-y buzzword. If you could walk our listeners through how you sort of went through it, what the hurdles were to build it, how you've engaged with it, and how it kind of works on an ongoing basis, and also the benefits that you've seen as the business, how that's helped propel and help you work your business into serving your customers.
I think what helped me was that in the beginning, I wasn't really trying to build a business. It was kind of, I started off as a passion project. And then later on, because there was traction, it just naturally came in with the business side. But starting as a passion project, because I genuinely cared about the outcome and I genuinely care about how I get there as well, that the process is user informed and it's not about me at the end of the day. It's about the impact that I'm delivering to the people who need it. So in the beginning, I was really just posting about my work, especially on Instagram. And it just works well with me because I'm already Instagram obsessed. So why not just do it on something that I'm building? And then through there, I actually connected with a few creators with disability and I actually just wanted to be friends with them because I'm like, it's so cool. We're in the same space. We're advocating for the same things. I want to connect. And I think I had to learn later on that networking could be like so different in so many different spaces. But to me, if we're going in, like, I'm not trying to really get anything out of it. I'm really just trying to connect as human to human because I admire the work you do and we have mutual respect for the work that we do. And just connecting as humans and trying to build a community that's focused on the impact. I work closely with Tanya, who's based in Brisbane, and she does, I think she runs a support coordinator company. And then a lot of the times I talk to her about like the strategy in general, like business things. And we just talk really straight to each other, like, oh, this is not going to work. This is going to work. And then we always say like, excuse me if you feel like I'm being mean. But I always say, please don't say that because at the end of the day, it's about the impact and we're both trying to achieve the same goal. And I think that's just what it's about. We're just getting a group of people together who care about the cause and the impact and the at the end goal. And we're all trying to work out ways. So
thank you so much for that. It's really good to hear, and I think you're right. Sometimes the art of receiving and giving constructive criticism has been lost a little bit over the recent years, but it definitely provides a good spot for some feedback, and sometimes it's needed as well because we can be a little bit blinded by our own kind of ideas and thoughts and preconceptions.
Yeah, I think from a lot of what I heard as well, I think especially when you're coming from a company perspective that's not very humanized, you have a fixed branding, you have a fixed brand tone, just no flexibility in things, which leads to you might have a board, but it then becomes kind of tokenistic because you're not really taking in consideration of what they're saying. But I think humanizing the brand and actually adding that flexibility gets people to build trust. And that's a huge thing that companies should be doing.
Hannah and I are obviously fully in love with this, but what can you see with behind the scenes? How many people have we got on the platform? How many sort of providers are you engaging with? What sort of like territories are you in? And also what's next for enaccess Maps?
Yeah, so currently we have around 600 to 700 user reviews plus venue self-listing on our platform. But through the Map for Change program, we're really hoping to get more providers on board to just encourage more support workers to, add more data into the database to help everyone because everyone benefits and people can find new places to go to. We currently have 7 providers across 4 states that are on the Map for Change program, but we're always welcoming more. And they can just send me an email at info@enaccessmaps.com. I think one other thing that I kind of want to touch on that's really not in the Map for Change side is that we actually work with councils as well. And a service they actually pay for is that they could verify a listing. So they could verify a council-owned venue. And what we do is that they pay us, to verify a listing. And then we send out a trained lived experience assessor to go physically map the place and check if the information is correct. So what I want to do with enaccess maps is also hire more people with disabilities, because I think it's really common.
And having a little happy dance in the background.
Hire more people with disabilities. Yes, of course. This is so good. Sorry, finish your sentence. I accidentally cut you off and I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay. One thing I want to do is hire more people with disabilities, because I think it's just so often that they get asked to do volunteer work, whether if it's boards, events, or anything. And I just want to break that norm as well. So councils pay us, and then we hire people with lived experience to go map those places. And we already pilot tested this service with 2 councils in Victoria, and we already hired 5 assessors with disabilities to go out to map over 50 places that are council-owned venues. So when you go to our website, if you see that place has a little tick next to their venue name, it means it's been checked by someone with a disability to physically go there.
That's just awesome. I don't think I've seen Hannah happy dance in a podcast as much as this one. I feel like she's fangirling over this.
Yeah, absolutely fangirling.
So how with those councils, please tell me Geelong City Council was on that. Very Geelong.
No.
You call them up and you tell them.
Yeah.
Okay, I will.
Sam should. Sam is
should,
from there. Sam should call them.
Sure, I'll get onto council. I might not have been in Geelong for about another 13 years. Sorry, Geelong. Anyway, I like Brisbane. Go Brisbane. You can call me a traitor. Look, Sabrina, we're really loving this. For providers out there that want to hear more about the Map for Change and how to kind of get their support workers in, and also getting any participants listening or people with a disability that want to check it out, how do we kind of get engaged to help get more data in there?
Yeah, so most information about Map for Change is on our LinkedIn page. So you can search enaccess, E-N-Access. And if you want to just get involved, just send us an email at info@enaccessmaps.com, or just send me a direct message on LinkedIn. My name is Sabrina Leung, Leung.
And we'll have all that information in the show notes so it's easy for people to find you. Amazing. Thank you so much. I love this idea. The other thing I'm going to add is that Ellie, our amazing producer extraordinaire, is a coffee connoisseur. And I think we could add whether the coffee was any good or not to your data points. I think that's so important. I think everyone should talk about, I do a lot of reviews myself, and I always comment whether there's Wi-Fi or not, because that to me is important, and I always like to put that in the comments. And obviously,
you did half of this the moment COVID stopped. You're down in the little alleyways at a coffee shop with your Wi-Fi, where you're getting the rest of this done.
Yeah,
that will be the biggest thing you miss if you move up to Brisbane. Will be that we don't have that coffee culture up here. It is saddest thing about. We love our coffee up here. Don't get us wrong. I think Queensland are bigger coffee snobs than Victoria. But in terms of the cafe culture, we don't have that up here. It's really disappointing. I love sitting in a cafe for 7 hours and just doing nothing. But and back when they had smoking out in an outdoor area,
No, that's so fair. But I also like it's kind of my thing as well, because I like to say mapping is part of the job, but I'm actually just cafe hopping all the time. And it's just a great excuse for me to say I'm working, but I'm really just chilling.
It's become a way to like write the lifestyle off as a tax expense.
Exactly.
One more thing that just came to me is that it is also possible that someone has a hidden disability and can still write a review of whether it was a place was accessible for their disability.
I had that at the same start. Is it, in terms of stuff like sensory overload, lighting, that sort of stuff, do you capture that in there rather than just the physical access points?
So currently we're focusing on physical accessibility. We're keeping it quite straightforward, which is accessible toilets, movement space, parking, and whether it's step-free. But there's a comment section that people can add whatever they want to add to it.
So Sabrina, our usual question at the end of this is, in your ideal world, what would the NDIS look like? But since you're a little bit left adjacent to the NDIS specific, let's rephrase the question a little bit. In your ideal world, what would accessibility in the community look like to you?
In an ideal world, I think accessibility is all about transparent information. And the reason I say that, it's because one place that is accessible for one person doesn't mean it's accessible for another person. And they can even have contradicting access needs. They might need something that someone else doesn't want to have. So it's really about open communication and hearing people out and willing to ask those questions and actually take action from it. So that's my ideal world with accessibility.
Well, I love that. A little happy dance.
Awesome. Well, Sabrina, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We've really loved talking to you and hearing all about Maps for Change. So I encourage everyone to sign up and get on with it.
Yeah, share it out in your Facebook feeds, get your friends on it. The more people that we can get this, the more and obviously the more data points you have, the more you can do with it. And that takes a lot of people and a lot of crowd resourcing. But thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much, Sam. Thanks, Hannah.
All right, bye.
Huzzah!
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Please share with people you know. Until next time, as the Green Brothers say, don't forget to be awesome.